Hi friends, my name is Emily and welcome back to my channel. Today I am filming a reaction video to the 100 books to get you out of a reading slump that somebody at Indigo has put together. The reason that I'm doing this is because I am striving for a no-buy year. I have talked about this more in depth in some of my reading journal videos. I'm taking inspiration from Hannah Louise Poston here on YouTube. She did a no-buy year because she was overspending on makeup and like skincare and stuff like that, and she set herself some rules, and so I have done the same with where I overspend, not financially, but I have more things than I can read in a year. I have probably 2 years worth of reading if I never reread and I never buy anything new. So to curb this like continuing to acquire thing, I have a couple of rules and I have been very good at following them so far because they are reasonable and I don't feel like I'm missing out. Why am I looking at this list? Something that I have been doing is looking at lists, prize lists, like short lists, best of lists, to see if other people have taken books that I was excited about at one point, I purchased, it's physically in my possession, but I have sort of lost it in a sea of other texts. By looking at these lists, I'm hoping to sort of spark that excitement, that little reminder of like, oh yeah, I do have that book. And it's on this like best of list. So I'm gonna go through this list and I'm gonna pull what I have. So as you can see here, we've got this 100 books to get you out of a reading slump. I used to be an Indigo employee. I'm not an Indigo employee anymore. I did quit October of 2020, I believe. Yes. Okay, so let's start at the top of this list. We have From Blood and Ash by Jennifer R. Armentrout. I haven't read that. I'm not interested in that. I don't own a copy of it. Braiding Sweetgrass, Indigenous Wisdom, Scientific Knowledge, and the Teaching of Something. I can't tell, it's too small. By Robin Wall Kimmer. This is a phenomenal read. Absolutely recommend that you find a copy, borrow a copy of the audiobook. It's great. Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller is very much on my radar, though I don't physically own a copy. Maybe one day I will pick this up. Between Two Kingdoms, I haven't heard of. Yearbook by Seth Rogen, no. Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston, I've read. It's okay. Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid, I've also read. It's okay. A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. I just watched Paperback Dreams and their sister do a reading vlog of them reading this book and just weeping together, and I will admit that there was a large part of me that definitely wanted to add it to my potential treat books. So part of my no-buy thing, my book buying rules, is that I'm allowed to take things that I'm very interested and add it to a first quarter of the year list. At the end of the quarter, if I feel like I've done really well with tackling my physical TBR, I will be allowed to buy a book. And you know what? I feel like this is the type of book that one day I will read, but will it be the book that excites me because it's so devastating? If this is the one book that I buy in the quarter, will it be something that I feel drawn to pick up? Do you know what I mean? That's what I'm sort of trying to assess. So I definitely think this is a great conversation piece. It would probably be great to get you out of a reading slump because so many people have read it, so you could find lots of reviews, lots of folks to chat about the book with. So Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel, I have read. It's fantastic. I read it recently. It is pandemic fiction. Is Everyone Hanging Out Without Me and Other Concerns by Mindy Kaling. Not into celebrity memoirs so much. A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. No. She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. I've heard great things about, but I don't own it. The House on the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. I did enjoy. The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett is on my radar. Educated by Tara Westover is a phenomenal memoir. Like super, super frustrating. Super, like you just get so angry for her. One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus is part of this like new hot wave of YA thrillers. I think I read it as part of the Indigo Teen Staff Pick of the Month group of people who were choosing it, when I was on that sort of like committee. It's fine. It's fun. I'm not big into thrillers anyway, but if, you know, you're a young person wanting to get into thrillers, I think it's fine. The Book Thief by Marcus Zuzak, I've read. Priority of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon is on my radar. Born of Crime by Trevor Noah was a great read. The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas is a great read. The Wolf and the Woodsman by Ava Reed I pre-ordered and read last year and was super disappointed by. So it's marketed as adult fantasy but reads really YA, and there was like entirely too much like pining for each other and like making googly eyes at each other in the forest instead of focusing on the plot. The Glass Castle by Jeanette Walls I haven't read and I don't own a copy of. Normal People by Sally Rooney I've grown to love. The Secret History by Donna Tartt is a one-day book. Homegoing by Ya Gyasi, one day. My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, no interest in the creator of Nike. Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng I have read and really enjoyed. Ooh, okay, here's the first thing that has potential as like a feeling inspired to read. A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. So I have read this book, but I purchased it in a box set, so I own the complete trilogy. So because one of my no-buy rules is that I'm only allowed to buy the next book in the series if I'm going to read it right away, there are certain like series that I know I own pieces of. It's creating a little bit of a blocker for me, but because I own this whole trilogy, this could be a good option. So we're gonna put a pin in that. Where the Crawdad Sings by Delia Owens? No. The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang? No. British Terabithia by Catherine Patterson is a phenomenal read. I love that. Life in the City of Dirty Water by Clayton Thomas Mueller is on the Canada Read shortlist, and I was very tempted to pick up all 5 of the short list books and break the no-buy, film a video reading all 5 and like offering my opinion on which one I think deserves to be the Canada Reads, but that involves buying books. So instead I just took out, I put a hold on the ones that I was most interested in at the library. So one day this will come in for me at the library. Say Nothing. True crime, no. 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton. I've heard a lot about on BookTube, on the internet. I have no interest in. Anthony Bourdain, Kitchen Confidential, no. Okay, so this is one that I do own. It's physically on my TBR, and it is Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman. I've had this on my TBR for a while, possibly since the first year I worked at Indigo. I had a weakness for a lot of the deals that we got as an Indigo employee. So I do have a copy of that, so I'm going to set that aside and try a chapter. Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. I have read. Everything that you've heard about it is true. It is a lot of info dumping, and that continues on to the next book in the series. I think the next book in the series was actually one of my biggest disappointments of 2021, and I DNF'd it. House in the Sky, a memoir by Amanda Linhout, no. Red Rising by Pierce Brown was like having its moment in the sun. When I first joined the BookTube community, like the YA community had got their claws into this because I guess it has some like similar vibes and appeals across the market. I didn't get in on the hype then. I have no interest in it now. Know My Name by Chanel Miller is a phenomenal read. The Spy and Traitor by Ben McIntyre, no. The Hunger Games by Susan Collins I have read, and I mean, it's The Hunger Games, it's classic. Rules of Civility by Emma Tolls. The Break by Catherine Vermette I actually own a copy of as well. This I've had for quite a while. This, I mean, it has so many stickers all over it. It was 40% off, like it was price pointed probably over Christmas at 40% off, and then I picked it up with an Indigo employee discount on top of that. So I've had this for a while. So maybe I'll try a sample from this as well. Me Before You by Jojo Moyes, I have no interest in. Gillian Flynn, Sharp Objects, no interest in. Wow, Thank You by Samantha Irby. I have been recommended some of her other essays, but I don't own any of her works. The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafran, no. Uprooted by Naomi Novik, I have read, I loved it. Tiny Beautiful Things by Cheryl Strayed, no. The Dispossessed by Ursula K. Le Guin, I really like her writing. I don't own any of her works unread currently. The One by John Mars, no. The Rosie Project by Graham Simison. Red Notice by Bill Browder. I'll Be Gone in the Dark by Michelle McNamara. Namara. Obviously, I've read The Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown. I have no interest in any of Lee Child's works. Lisa Jewell is a popular author that I also have no interest in. The House We Grew Up In is just there. Elena Ferrante, My Brilliant Friend, is maybe something that I would come back to at some point. They are very popular. Magpie Murders by Anthony Horowitz. The Immortal Life of Henrietta Sacks by Rebecca Skloot. I actually own this one. So this is a piece of nonfiction. It's been on my TBR for a while. A fellow Indigo employee had it as their staff pick. Beauties by James Duthie. Hockey shit, no thank you. Chimera Ngozi Adichie, Half of a Yellow Sun. The Devil in the White City by Eric Lawson. My Sister the Serial Killer. The Chestnut Man. We Are Never Meeting in Real Life by Samantha Irby. This is the essay collection that folks have recommended. I also don't own it. Christina Lauren, Love in Other Words. I've read some of their stuff and enjoyed it. The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry by Rachel Joyce. Open Book by Jessica Simpson. I find that really hard to believe that that will get you out of a reading slump. The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. I've heard mixed things about. Humans, A Brief History of How We Fucked It All Up by Tom Phillips. No thank you. The Dry by Jane Harper. The Proposal by Jasmine Guillory. Philip Pullman's His Dark Materials is fantastic. I love those books. Don't You Forget About Me by Hari McFarlane. The Road by Cormac McCarthy. Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. I've read it. The Martian by Andy Weir. The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo by Stieg Larsson. I DNF'd and unhauled. Ken Follett, The Pillars of Earth. Ken Follett was an author that I tried during my first year on BookTube. I did a genre exploration challenge and I had friends and people who read in my life recommend books. A book by Ken Follett was the one book that I DNF'd. I could not get into it. Animal Farm by George Orwell is great. Dead Mom Walking by Rachel Malto. No. Washington Black is actually one of the Canada Reads shortlist finalists as well. So this I'm on hold for as well. Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. We read for a book club and nobody in the book club liked it, but it has such big queer hype online. Angels and Demons by Dan Brown I have read as well. Sons and Soldiers by Bruce Henderson, no interest in. Dark Money by Jane Meyer. Papillon by Henry Charrier. The First Man in Rome by Colleen McCullough. Slash by Slash. Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. Underground Railroad by Colson Whitehead. Ali Wong, Dear Girls. World War Z by Max Brooks. Ooh, I actually own Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy as well. When I first started BookTube, I believe it was Jean and Final Blow Joe who were both really talking about the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Miles picked up this beautiful cloth-bound edition for me and I haven't read it. So maybe this is an opportunity to sample this beautiful gift book. And then last but not least, we have The Book of Negroes by Lawrence Hill and Notes from a Young Black Chef. Plan for what I'm gonna do now. I'm gonna sample a little bit of each of these, take inspiration from this list and try and read what I actually own instead of going to buy things, right? Come back to the collection that I own, the collection that I've built for myself, and touch these objects, assess these objects, and hopefully read and enjoy these objects. Feel inspired to read and enjoy these objects.
Soon after.
So I just sampled a little bit from The Break by Catherine Vermette, and this first part is very interesting and very violent. So a woman, a new mother, the baby is fussing and she wakes up in the middle of the night and out the window she sees a woman she believes being sexually assaulted. But the police are like, oh, it's winter. Nobody does sexual assaults outdoors in the winter. And then her husband comes home and he starts gaslighting her, being like, you know, with your history, maybe you didn't see what you thought you saw. So this sounds interesting and dark. See, this is difficult because this is nonfiction, but I'm gonna sample from it anyway, see how it reads. So we'll go from there.
A few moments later.
So I just finished the prologue for The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks and I have goosebumps. This is going to be such an interesting read. I do want to sample from the other two, but I kind of feel like this is the winner. This is going to be the one that I actually read. So for the purpose of this exercise, I will sample all of these things, right? The idea is to sort of refamiliarize myself with the texts that I have collected.
More moments later.
Okay, also another great hook at the start of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. That is the common thread amongst all of the books I have touched so far, is that they have this incredible hook where you're like, oh my god. Oh, this is gonna be so hard to choose. Okay, I have two more.
Much later.
Okay, good morning. I said I was gonna finish that later, and what I was planning on doing was updating you with the last 2 books, and then my dog pooped and Indian food arrived and I just moved on with my day. I read A Gathering of Shadows, which is the second book in the Darker Shade of Magic trilogy, and that has a real hook to it as well, especially because it starts on a pirate ship, and like for the past 2 years, I think, all through, since 2020, I've been part of a D&D campaign where we are playing as pirates and doing like piratey adventure stuff, so like that has a lot of appeal. And then the last book I haven't started reading yet. It is Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman. Like, I have to say that so far, trying the first like chapter or chunk of each of these books, I can totally see why these would get you out of a reading slump, right? Like, this was a list to get you out of a reading slump, and each one of these has sort of this delicious first chapter that just leaves you wanting more. So I'm curious about Norse mythology. I did struggle a little bit with American Gods. Like, it took me a while to get into American Gods, and I feel like if it hadn't been a buddy read at the time, it probably would have taken me a lot longer to get through.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
So I feel like Norse mythology is actually the hardest of the 5 books that I have here. Also, I got this for 50% off. Something that I'm realizing as I look through my collection is a lot of these things were acquired while I was an Indigo employee, and books basically cost nothing. Like, it was so easy to justify this being the form of entertainment that I paid for. I'm seeing things like this where I was like, oh, Neil Gaiman, Norse mythology, 50% off plus the 10% off that. And like, I'm paying almost nothing for books. Like, there's a receipt in the front of one of these books, and it has like 4 or 5 books on it that I bought, like employee discount, price pointed, like I was very strategic with the sales and my discount combined. And I had like less than $20 for like 5 books. You can see how easy it has been to accumulate this. Like, if I were to go through my shelves, and maybe I will at some point next week, I will be redoing this office. I have saved up for it, and I am building custom shelves, which means that I'm going to touch all of the books that I have in this office. I am going to touch all of the objects that I have in this office and like really try and reassess and make this a nice space to be. I could probably go through and create piles of books that I picked up because of the price point at Indigo. It's definitely the deal that gets to me. Right now I have so many options that I have paid very little money for, and it's an overwhelming collection, almost, right? As I'm finding out, like when I look at this stack of 5 books that I just pulled out to sort of re-spark my interest, I would be so happy to read all 5 of these. Like, I have done a good job, for the most part, of picking out things that I'm really excited about that still capture my attention years later. It's just that I've accumulated more than I know what to do with. I do think that the Snow by Year is going to be good. So here are the 2 books that I'm torn between. The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks is more appealing to me right now because it's nonfiction, and I'm currently working on 2 pieces of fiction. I was really trying to stick to 1 book at a time, but I am rereading The Ocean at the End of the Lane, which is the Patron Book Club book. I'm having a public live stream for this Saturday, February 26th at 4 p.m. This is a reread, and it's a reread that I'm going through very slowly, taking very careful notes as I craft the show outline. So this is work. This is not reading for fun. The other thing that I've been reading is Lilith's Brood. So I actually just finished the first book in this trilogy. This is a fascinating read, but I feel like I need time to digest. I do want to finish the other 2 books in this trilogy. I'm thinking that a piece of nonfiction is the way to go. There's none of these books that I'm gonna unhaul, so I am gonna be putting all of these back. I am still pleased with all of these choices as like things that I would like in my collection, things to read. Just a reminder that the live show is happening. I'll be posting more about this, so I hope that you'll join me for that. I've been working hard on it. The Ocean at the End of the Lane is an interesting, tiny fantasy read. Before we go, we have to thank my patrons who make videos like this possible. They allow me to set aside the time to work on stuff like this. Let me know your thoughts on doing these sort of deep dives into your own bookish collections. Have you tried a no-buy year before, a book buying ban, a read 5 buy 1 sort of deal? And how did it go for you? I hope you are doing well, that you are staying safe, and I will see you soon with another video. Bye!